The title of what I'm doing today is called The Art of Carbon Zero Living. I've been obviously approaching it for 40 years, but only recently did I decide to actually present it as an art, because it is it's going to make it a lot more palatable, because a lot of people think they have to do without to be to live in a carbon zero way. This is my car. 75 Mercedes. I take buckets of grease from restaurants, strain it through a t-shirt. It runs directly on the grease. The body work there is parts harvested from washing machines and stoves and refrigerators from dumps. It's driving a statement of carbon zero living. When I found out I was coming here, it was just a few days ago. I was in Crockett, Texas, building one of these buildings, and had no clothes other than trashed work clothes. I'd been working in the rain for a month. And so I went to a thrift store for $8 and got a carbon zero coat. A coat, rather than buying a new coat from Asia or wherever they make them with sweatshops. I did that, and that's it's just little things that make you constantly aware of that. But overall, there are really, in my mind, 6 issues that every city and every country is facing, that if people address these on an individual basis, I think that there will be an impact made on the carbon output of the way we live on this planet. One is building with natural and recycled materials, just like the car running on the grease, the coat being recycled. That's an important issue. Of course, thermal, solar heating and cooling are an issue for all over the world. You're either heating or cooling, or doing both. Solar and wind electricity are, of course, ways to reduce the fuel. And I'm talking about using all of these in an individual home on an individual level in a very decentralized way. Water harvesting from snow and rain and snow melt is also a way to not need the infrastructure of water, and because infrastructures themselves are carbon producing. Contained sewage treatment, again, the infrastructure of sewage to deliver it to wherever it goes, to a sewage treatment plant and then into the Rio Grande or whatever. I was just in the Galapagos Islands. We're doing some work there, and they have a grand new sewage plan. This is the pristine Galapagos Islands. They have a grand new sewage plan. They had maps presented on the wall of collecting up all the sewage on San Cristobal Island and taking it down the beach and dumping it in the ocean. That's on the Galapagos Islands. So then one other of the 6 points is food production. Food production is the food that we eat is shipped from all over the world. It's also grown for money, so it's not that healthy. It's pumped with stuff to make it produce fast and have color and so on. So it's more healthy and less of a carbon footprint. We grow to grow your own food, and so if a building, a home, addresses each one of these points, that home individually is making not only a statement, but a step in the direction of carbon zero living. This is one such home. It's kind of a demonstration home that exemplifies all of these points. It may not be the most conservative looking thing you'll ever see, nor conservatively priced, but this home in general illustrates these points. I'll get into the specifics of it, but it's really these are a lot of homes that are dealing with all of these issues, just to show the variety. That's a fairly conservative-looking southwestern version. They don't have to look strange, is what I'm saying. I like them to look strange, but that doesn't always sell. So all of these homes are just examples of these particular 6 points being addressed on a individual level to not need infrastructure and to not need fossil fuel and to basically live in a carbon zero way. Like one of these homes, any one of them, would have a $100 per year total annual utility bill and be totally comfortable with all amenities, flat screen TVs, high-speed internet, and so on. But that's $100 a year utility bill. And you're sitting inside on a cold winter day up in Taos, snug as a bug in a rug. We've got a very generic model now that I just was building in Crockett, Texas, actually, that we're taking around the world. Then it changes for the tropics. This is Jamaica, but still addressing the same things. These are all cans and bottles. I mean, Negril, Jamaica is a tourist place. Everybody goes there to get drunk. And so we collect, millions of bottles there, and that's the product that we have there. The guy there laying the bottles had never seen a bottle brick about 3 or 4 days before, and there he's doing some pretty complex bottle work. So we're also taking knowledge and skills around the world as we do this. These are the cisterns that the water goes into. So building with natural and recycled materials, I'll mention a few of them here. There is the one that the structure of the buildings. There is how many tires we have on this planet, really. More tires than trees, really. There's how they're built. Earth is rammed into them. They're actually resilient building bricks with a product that is indigenous to the entire planet. Everywhere we've been, you see tires. That's just the sequence of events that makes the tire brick. They're leveled and laid very much like regular bricks. They become a giant, massive heat-retaining or cool-retaining wall, packed out with mud, and it ends up looking like a real adobe wall or whatever kind of plaster you use. That's my grandson in Spain working on the tire wall. Bottles, cans. Everywhere we go, there are bottles, cans, tires, plastic bottles. This is Bonaire, mountains of bottles on these tourist islands. We take the bottles, cut the necks off, make bricks that are see-through stained glass bricks. And they're laid in cement just like regular bricks. Very low-tech skills to learn to do it. The plastic bottles, this is the plastic bottles done the same way. This is a storage place of plastic bottles. Asia has millions and millions of these, and so there we used plastic bottles. So the plastic and the glass are used together as stained glass effect. Then we go to the dumps and find washing machine parts like on the Mercedes. And every dump is full of a mountain of washing machine stoves and refrigerators. Usually every dump that we've ever been to, we go in there with a drill and a pair of snippers, snip off the panels. And even your car door is not safe in a parking lot from our crew. And we take the panels and round them up a little bit and make roofs out of them that are just as durable and even better than the metal roofing that you buy. And we also do details with them as well. So that's a product that we have gained from the dump, and it keeps us from buying a product. This is a linseed oil can used as a door handle. It becomes a disease once you really start it. Then we use earth plaster, of course, natural materials, and mud floors, which are common here in New Mexico. But the variety of artwork that you can do with this is just unlimited, really. The buildings can be 2- and 3-story. It's a structural and an artistic element to build with that is available all over the world. Thermal solar heating and cooling is pretty well known. These buildings employ those concepts. Buried, they're mostly buried to trap everything and to provide the mass. This is a thermal wrap that we put around most of the buildings. There it is in real life. And this is a concept in terms of the heating and cooling that we're playing with. It's called internal space. It's the place where the people hang out is internalized by plant spaces, which also treat sewage and provide food and create buffer zones between you and the outside. Another concept is this convection engine in the red part there on the right. The hotter that gets, the more cool air it sucks through the tubes. So it's the heat that causes the building to be cool. And every building is employing a greenhouse to grow the food. The greenhouses then, of course, are vented with gravity-operated skylights. And everything is very low tech. Solar and wind electrical power is pretty well known. We just employ that to the max. This is a radio station in Taos, the solar radio station that is in an earthship and run by PV panels. So they're just built into the configuration of the building. They're pretty common these days, but an important thing about these buildings is that they do not have as much of a power load as a conventional building. That's why it's very easy to make a PV system work. And of course, LED lighting affects that immensely because it's a fraction of the power drawn as conventional. Water harvesting has been talked about a lot, but when you employ all of these into a building, it begins to shape the building, and the roof goes into cisterns, aqueducts carrying the water to cisterns. Plastic cisterns are used a lot to store the water, buried around the building. Then the water feeds a pump panel that filters it and pressurizes it. We use, of course, solar hot water. Then the contained on-site sewage treatment is simply an extension of the water system. We use the water 4 times. We take it through these botanical cells that are rubber-lined cells that allow the plants to oxygenate the water with their plant roots. And so every building is like an Amazon jungle. The plumbing layout of one of these buildings is conventional. That's a conventional plumbing layout. The things that we do are just additional loops so that we can still not freak out the code enforcers. And so you're looking at living in an Amazon jungle that produces food, that also cleans sewage and produces oxygen for their living circumstance. In this case, we're also doing tilapia as part of the food. And there's a pump panel that sucks up that gray water to go to flush the toilet with, so we actually use the water 4 times, the same amount of water. Then it goes out from a septic tank into another rubber-lined cell. And the rubber-lined cell creates a green space outside of the home. There's quite a contrast there between the desert and the sewage treatment place, which also then attracts wildlife to the desert that wouldn't normally be there. Then the food production is just almost anything you can think of: squash, amaranth, artichokes, dill, eggplants, grapes, peppers, watermelons, tomatoes. We have predatory wasps that eat the bad bugs, stocking the tilapia pond. Nice little sequence here. My son fishing in the tilapia pond, catches a fish, takes it in, cleans it with the rainwater, cleans it up, grabs some peppers and other things from the rest of the jungle, and serves me lunch. So the house is actually aimed at producing everything for a family of 4, even food. Those bananas have no carbon footprint. The banana you buy from a grocery store has a huge carbon footprint because it comes from South America or wherever. Same with cantaloupes. You can grow them locally, though. So that's the overview of these buildings that we're taking around the world and illustrating that people on an individual basis can produce homes if they can get through the codes, and we have techniques for that, which I won't go into, that are absolutely carbon zero. And if this technology, which is very basic, gets out there and demonstrated, that puts it so people can take it into their own hands and don't have to wait for the government or the corporations or somebody to do something about carbon zero living. You can do it yourself. This is all very simple technology, but the result is a building that produces everything that you need, including food, to live. You could literally stay there and not leave because everything you need is provided there except for, you know, the movies or something like that. Of course, you could even do that online. So we use these as nightly rentals up in Taos, and you know, to illustrate to people that they don't have to live in a teepee to be living in a carbon zero situation. And we've just been invited, that's why I was just mentioning Galapagos, we've been invited to go to the Galapagos Islands to do a village that we're calling GIVE, the Galapagos Institute of Village Ecologies. And it's going to use the Galapagos Islands already high profile on the planet, mixed with this thinking to create an institute that will in fact be a global attraction for sustainable living, and it'll be built by the people there and by interns and students from all over the world. It's already got a site. The governor has gotten the land together, and hopefully we're going to get it built before they get their sewage treatment map facilitated and start dumping sewage right into the ocean where the giant turtles are swimming. So that's the nature of everything we're doing. It goes into many different factions on a global level, but the point I'm making here is that individuals can do something. They don't have to wait for people, for corporations, for government. They can build these buildings and retrofit using these concepts. One other thing to mention is that I did mention codes and regulations, which are definitely an inhibiting factor on doing things like this. But what I'm finding, and we're going to put a map, we're in the process of putting a map on our website, what we call pockets of freedom. The reason I came from Crockett, Texas just now is because they don't require building codes there. Before that, it was Miles City, Montana. Again, they don't require building codes. So what we're telling people when they say, how do I get through the building codes in Ventura County, California, I just say move. And I provide them a map of where to move to. And there you can walk in. You know, these people in these last 2 homes we built, they walked in our office a couple of months ago, and now they have a house. And so it's the same story, you know, all over the planet. That's possible, but there are places where you have to fight 2 years to get a permit. And so that's one of the biggest issues to scream about now, is the technology is here for carbon zero living, but the codes and regulations are really slowing it down. So we're trying to find ways to step outside of that and to completely ignore it in cases where there are no codes and regulations. Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.